Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Viking Rising Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Eric Rosen, for this new moon solar eclipse in Libra. Let's get into it. First thing I want to say is I don't want to call this solar eclipse a dud because with it being a solar eclipse, I mean, there's still potency there, but there is a differentiation that a lot of astrologers and a lot of people in the spiritual community don't talk about that pay attention to the eclipses, which is that when you have an eclipse that's actually with the South Node, which deals very much with the past life karma of been there, done that sort of energy, which the solar eclipse in Libra does. It is with the South Node. I think we have to be careful about what we're setting our sights on during this new moon, whether that's just with the manifestations that you have, especially revolving things where you're wanting to create justice in your life, you're wanting to create more balance, harmony, you're wanting better quality relationships. Maybe you're wanting a new relationship to come in, or you're wanting to, balance things out in a, relationship sort of way. I think it's remembering that, hey, we can't force the harmony. We can't force things to happen. When it is a South Node solar eclipse, there still is like a release to this energy. You're letting go of the past. And also you couple that with the fact that Mars is in Scorpio, and it's actually going to hit the point where the last eclipse in Scorpio was, and that energy, we're sort of, like I said to a client earlier, we're sort of like, if we're trying to go too much on the offensive with our thoughts and weighing things out, it's going to be like trying to combine like a Rubik's Cube with Legos. It's like, it just doesn't work. I've been saying this, that there's just a deep understanding that this month is kind of like going through a vortex. We're not going to know exactly where our life is going. I think a lot of this is connected to like what's the stuff going down in the world. Like the world stuff is a big deal. And, even if it doesn't feel like it's landing in your backyard, there's still an energetic component to it. There's things moving in the background with, countries and alliances and war energies and things like that. And so, especially for the people that are sensitive and empathic, or even just know that the things that are going on in the world do have a ripple effect into things, we've got to be wary of that. And so I think this is not a time to like overly define our life. I think that it's more the simple nature. We keep putting one foot in front of the other, and that one foot in front of the other, I don't think needs to be based upon hasty, decisive thoughts of like weighing out a verdict of things. I think the steps are more so digging deep into the deeper understanding of who are we really? Like, who are we at a deeper subconscious, even transcending the human identification of the self, and walking forward with sort of that code, I guess you could say, of divination, of understanding that any discomfort, toughness, wounding, relationship stuff, feeling like life is lopsided, is more of a result to get your attention to see what are the places that you can keep climbing higher up on the mountain. What are the places that you can go to a higher aspect of yourself, because things are only going to get more tough in the collective. And so we want to make sure that we're handling business now, that we're not falling behind. This is not leaving, work in your inbox, just because you feel comfortable always having work to do, but then not touching it. And then you don't do it and you forget about it, and then you fall behind. So we don't want to fall behind with dealing with our deconditioning that I think is being asked for all of us to do in terms of who we actually are as human beings. And why that's important is so that you don't get plugged into two sides of a debate politically or on a worldview level. And because that's part of the agenda too, is just getting people not focused on their own personal lives and what they can actually build and create, and getting wrapped up into a world narrative of stuff. And so this can play out in drama, in your relationships too, of triggers. Triggers are a big deal right now. And so we've definitely got to go back to like seeing that if there's something bothering us, it's a chance to ground. It's a chance to root back into, what are the energies that are coming out. I think this brings up envy, it could bring up jealousy, it could bring up, just all sorts of, deceitful energies, just anywhere where there's an emotion that is influenced by another party, by another person, place, or thing. But then we make it about that thing. We project it instead of, looking and being like, oh, wait, this is Mars in, Scorpio now. Like, the shadow is us. Like, we have to see what the shadow is. And that's a good thing, because when we go into that shadow, we can actually see what is the deeper motivation. What is the steps that we're taking forward in our life? What is it that we're wanting to bring in? What is it that we're wanting to manifest? This is about, you've got to really know at a deeper level who you are, what your identification is, not get so hung up in what's going on in the world or in your relationships. To use the relationship situation as more of a soundboard to see how can you support yourself? How can you love yourself? Because there's a grace and a compassion. There's a feminine element of finding out this identification of who we really are. I don't care who you are. You can know enough about yourself and say, this is who I am. I know who I am. I know what I want. But there's always another layer of healing. There's always another layer of learning more through the human experience that we came here for on earth, of finding out who you are and what you really want. So we have to be willing to hang loose with our manifestations of what we want, and not even getting too specific in defining those things, because there's a lot coming still with a lunar eclipse in Aries at the end of this month, and two, because this is in the astrology to do that, but you're got to understand that if you're so committed to what you think your ego wants right now, you might actually pull yourself off of a path of mastery subconsciously, spiritually, without getting over a cold, by the way, sorry about that, but like without even realizing it. When you think that I have to create this justice in my life, I have to do this thing, like this is what I want, I'm just going for it, and you think you're getting a sense of strength in that, but what you're really doing is drinking the leftover fucking juice that Bane from Batman drank, that was basically like their version of like toxic steroids that like makes you fucking crazy and like a lunatic to your own life, your own relationships, your own creations. We have to be really careful about where we're asserting our energy right now and creating the illusion that somehow there's a justice, or that we're justified in that it's going to be better for our life, because we have to differentiate between what is true spiritual strength and the sensitive, compassionate, loving understanding of who that is. And the strength is in that vulnerability of those wounds that we're continuing to lean into and unravel about who we are and what we want in our relationships, versus the adrenaline rush of definition, of ego, of masculine, and going, this is what it is. Because then the adrenaline wears off, the Bane juice wears off. And I can tell you from my experience that this is hard, because this is what produces being overstimulated. This is what produces, being too much in a yo-yo effect, where we're chasing high highs and then we hit low lows, and then the lows are just too much. This is about finding more fairness, quality, and balance by being defined in the simple, practical nature of things. The understanding that whatever it is that you're wanting to define in your life, whether that's learning more about who you are and the creation of your manifestations as an extension of that identity of you, that it comes with practical understanding that things take time. It takes time to build. It takes time to grow quality things. That it's not an adrenaline rush. That we don't need to force a decision. That we don't need to, force a reality. We also don't want to get hung up with Venus and Virgo of like the nitpick of like the things that we think that we need to shift, especially with Uranus and Jupiter retrograde over in Taurus, and the sun going to be making squares to that Uranus. We don't want to, again, pull ourselves backwards by creating some justified movement, by going into some, endeavors that's not actually calibrated, and we're just making these split, quick second decisions. Guys, be patient the rest of this month. The solar eclipse, this is just the beginning. Don't be hasty on this one.